My guest today is ex-Hootsuite strategist and content marketing specialist Kim James, who has kindly agreed to be mined for information on how personal stylists and image professionals can understand and work with the mythical beast that is Instagram. Welcome, Kim.
Hello, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. This is exciting. We were just saying earlier that I've got a million questions, all coming from the perspective of a personal stylist or an image consultant who is building their business. They're a service-based industry and they're trying to understand what the realistic expectations of Instagram are, how they can use the platform to grow and sell their products and services, and how they can manage the overwhelm, essentially, the sort of the dread that is imbued on us when we feel like we need to focus on social media. But before we begin, let's chat a little bit about your previous sort of career history. I mentioned your ex-Hootsuite, which we'll get into shortly, but you launched your own agency, Tangerine Tango, after 10 years working in digital content for brands. Is that right?
That was me. Yes, I actually have.
Okay, fabulous. So, getting back to it, I reached out to Kim because I wanted the opportunity to ask a lot of the questions that I hear from so many business owners in the styling industry. Instagram seems to be genuinely such a cause for stress and angst and frustration and overwhelm for so many business owners. Yet we all understand that social media is a pivotal part of the buyer's cycle, and it's something that we just have to master and we have to include. So what have been your biggest sort of insights or views on small business owners, social media, and the general sense of overwhelm?
Absolutely. I am the first to say in the past 10 years, obviously, content creation has been my life. I've done it when we were at Hootsuite, also with large brands before that in the government. And I'm the first to hand on heart say content creation is exhausting and content burnout is absolutely real. And also, majority of us, we haven't got training of speaking to camera and looking at yourself that much. Like, putting a phone in front of you and pressing record and speaking into the abyss is really awkward, like it doesn't feel natural. But social media is an absolutely phenomenal tool for businesses of all sizes, especially for small businesses. So in Australia, over 81% of Australians are on social media every single month. We're using 6.5 platforms every single month. And so the opportunity to be where your potential customers are is huge. So when we have a look at social media, it allows you to build a full funnel. So when we look at the top and the middle of funnel, we're looking at that future demand. We're looking at building out that opportunities for people to want to work with you in the future. And then you can also support the customers that are working with you now. So through social media, it is an absolutely phenomenal way to be able to do that. And I think a key thing of where I kind of work with people is helping them understand, okay, where should I be? How do I show up? And also really clear on who your audience is so that your messaging is going to stick. So right now with AI and the amount of vast content that's out there, the way that you're going to actually stand out is really clear on who you are, what you offer, and what that means for the end consumer, because we all watch social media selfishly. We're all consuming content. And until we know who you are, we really want to see what's in it for us. And so the ability to be able to, realistically, it's your time instead of a cost compared to if you were doing flyers or a magnet back in the day. If you take that time and effort into building out your content creation skill set, I do say to people, content creation is a skill. Like, it is not something that you just instantly become good at. It's just like copywriting. It takes time and it takes practice. But like anyone that's ever tried to do something like snowboarding, you're not good at it at the start. Like, it's going to take a while. So yeah, for small businesses, you have the phone in your hand. There is free tools to be able to edit on, and you can actually get to that audience where they already are. It's just really about being clear about your messaging and having to understand how you can show up regularly without burning yourself out.
Yes, which feels like quite a daunting task.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back. I know that you've got some views on TikTok and Instagram and the relationship they have in terms of predicting what will be a trend, what sort of content is going to perform well. So can you share with our listeners a little bit more about that so we can predict what our business will need for 2025?
Absolutely. TikTok has completely disrupted the industry. TikTok is definitely creating trends that we are seeing coming on other ones. Over 350,000 small businesses in Australia are on TikTok. And if you look at the recent series of Shark Tank, those businesses on there, there is one in the upcoming season that they say about how she got more money for the same valuation. And that product is a small business that's been on TikTok for years. So having that brand presence is absolutely phenomenal. And we're seeing it play out through these TV shows where there's, business valuations. When it comes to TikTok, it is in such an infancy, is that every single year, what we're seeing with the platforms continues to grow. If you asked me a year ago how to, capitalize on TikTok, it's going to be different to how I say to you today. TikTok started as a short form video, short, quick, little silly videos, and is quite then significantly evolved. But as we saw in 2022, Instagram were like, okay, TikTok is our biggest threat. Instagram is moving towards a video-based platform. Everyone was like, no, absolutely not. That will never happen. And look where we are. We're now saying that you need to use a minimum of 10 reels a month. So these things, it's kind of honestly just like riding the wave. You can't predict these things. If you're a social media expert and someone says, I know the algorithm, good luck. Majority of everyone is making a guess, but where you can make a calculated guess is based off the past. When we're looking at TikTok, right now, it is really key about storytelling. People want to build a relationship with people. It is content consumption, not social media. You go there to consume, very similar to how you do with YouTube, especially the key opportunity for TikTok compared to Instagram. The Instagram algorithm is getting better, but the TikTok algorithm is like the new search engine. If there is anything that you are looking for, even if, for example, I'm sure the listeners would love to hear this, but if I want to buy a product, I say it's a pair of shoes, I will search that shoe in TikTok and I will find an outfit of someone wearing that shoe to then see if I like it before I buy it. So that is a huge opportunity, is search engine optimization. So you can actually get people where they are going to search for a service on TikTok. Extremely strong for storytelling. Whereas on Instagram, we're starting to see those pieces flow in through. So when we're looking at that opportunity for Reels, at the moment, Reels is in that shorter piece. It's a lot more aesthetic, very natural to how the platform's been. Whereas TikTok now are going, okay, we want longer form videos. We want storytelling. We want a deeper connection there. So Instagram is a phenomenal platform and opportunity. Because of the maturity of it, it's definitely very high for competition. The amount of businesses that you think that are on there as well.
Yeah, and that's the challenge as well, because for personal stylists and image consultants, they have similar credentials and experience and accreditations. They are offering similar services, just branded in different ways. They are helping solve the same problem. So in terms of competition, it's really, really fierce. And within this industry, we also have the challenge of not being able to access user-generated content or client photos, those before and after photos that really show the journey or the impact, the return on investment, because it's a privacy thing, right? So I know that a lot of these business owners have taken courses, they've watched webinars, they're getting a lot of information from social media, they're searching for it themselves, trying to kind of figure out what this secret recipe is and what they're doing wrong. And I know that we've spoken about there's obviously tactical things people can do based on what's relevant right now, whether it's the type of content, whether it's short or long form, whether it's optimized for search engines. But I know you put a lot of stock in the messaging and the storytelling component of the content first. Can you share with our listeners who are, again, selling a service that's hard to quantify the return on investment and who are also struggling to stand out from their peers, how can they use messaging and storytelling to genuinely attract someone that might buy from them in the future?
100%. Messaging and storytelling is the absolute key. Right now, everyone is telling you what hook to use, how long to have your video, what hashtags to use. The tactics are not going to do anything if the messaging and the storytelling is not there. Yeah. So when it comes to a service business, it is and can be more difficult than a product business. And I'll hand on heart say that I've been selling products or have sold services online. And when it's a product, it's physical, it's tangible, it's in your hand. When it comes to a
Yeah.
service, it's about having a really clear ability to communicate to both logical buyers and emotional buyers. Logical buyers are going to go, what is all of the outcomes? What do I get? But emotional buyers, what does that mean for me? So when it comes to social media, it's all about aligning into those kind of micro reasons that someone would come in to work with you. So where you want to start is actually with your audience strategy before you even get to the tactics, before you even work out if you're posting a video, all the way back to your audience. Who are they? And I actually say to people, make a persona, give them a name. I do this with my clients so that when we then talk about content, we'll be like, oh, who is this for? And we'll, list our audience by name. So you might have a
Mm.
range of like 2 to 3, and they might be differencing people, but their problem or their like overall of what they're looking for is in alignment. So your audience, you want to know what are their behavioral, what are their psychographics, what are their pain points? Like what are they really going in through right now that then that pain point is just so painful that they just need to make a transformation.
So before you go on, let's just grab onto that, because that's exactly the process that we go through, I guess, when we're building a brand and we're doing audience profiling. Certainly, when you're working for a retail brand, you've got your different customer segments and they're named, and we can say, Shelley would love this, but Susan wouldn't, or what have you. But what's your opinion on picking a pain point? Because again, we can all talk about broad top level pain points, like I don't feel good in what I wear, I feel fat, I feel unattractive, I don't feel like people notice me, or I need more confidence, or what have you, those surface level concerns and pain points. But given the saturation, given the volume of content, given the competition online, what is your opinion on someone picking a unique and weirdly specific pain point and drilling down into that as a competitive strategy?
You can definitely for a piece of content. The problem with niching is if you niche too hard, you're stuck in that. And also then content creation can become more difficult because you're stuck in one piece. Whereas where it looks at content, instead you want to know who that audience is and how do those pain points show up within their life. 100%, if you niche stronger, you will grow quicker. But a lot of people can then get to a point where they go, oh my God, hang on, I'm stuck. And then they want to expand it, but they're just in this one little niche over here, and that makes it quite difficult. So when it comes to those pain points, it's not, oh, I don't feel confident. It's getting really clear. Okay, well, if you're not confident, how does that show up throughout your day? How does that look in their daily life? Is it that because they don't feel confident, they're not putting themselves forward for a promotion at work? They don't know how to have that conversation with their manager, or they're not going for a new job interview, or they're not, expanding the horizons, because it's all about understanding that pain point and how it shows up, and then really understanding the desires that someone wants to have that they will get through your solution. Because that level of
Mm.
transformation, there's actually something called the transformation ladder. It's been done for years with brand strategy, and you have 3 different tiers. You have the bottom, which is your features and benefits. So if you did a styling session, there will be, these are what you get. It's very tangible. It's just like the outcomes. The middle is emotionally. What does that emotionally mean for me when I've done this service? But then the top one is identity. Like, who do I see myself as when I'm there? When you get into your content, it's where you really tap into that state that then you're going to create content. Then when everyone's saying, oh, feel more confident, and you're going, go for that promotion, or walk into that job interview and have the body confidence that you know that you deserve to be there. And when you get a lot more micro in those elements of content with the power of the algorithm, it's going to show that to the right person. So you don't have to have one way that you work unless you wanted to have very niche kind of business strategy. But instead, it's having each different piece of content really tap in. And when you do that, it's the best feeling, because you will have people comment and go, it's like you are in my brain.
Yeah, we call those sort of bat signals. We know that as we're scrolling through content, we're subconsciously, having a reaction. Our nervous system is responding. Do we feel safe with this person? Are we connecting, or is there a complete disconnect? When we're scrolling past. And I guess the challenge for all of us is to know ourselves and our brand and our audience so intrinsically and so in such a detailed way that we naturally create content with almost these sort of a layer of emotional nuance that connects with people instantly. And that's absolutely right. That's when people get those DMs or the replies or emails saying, I just loved what you said. I feel this. Yes, 100%. So if we then think to ourselves, okay, well then what is the relationship between the storytelling and the tactics that are working right now? I read a report recently that said that carousel style posts on Instagram receive about 10% engagement, which is higher than any other form of content on Instagram. So over the year, across accounts ranging in size, it seems carousel posts are doing better in terms of getting people to respond. And whether that's also because you're running, ManyChat or other automated direct messaging things behind that content and getting people to actually convert, sign up to something. But what's your view on the tactics that people could employ concurrently whilst working on their messaging?
Absolutely. So great way of this is that Instagram themselves have come out with the best practice. So there's no guesswork. We actually know exactly what they want. So earlier this year, Instagram had said, okay, we are giving Reels views to any creator size. So they're just to get people to make make Reels, right? They were just so worried. Everyone was making TikToks. No one was making Reels. So there was a huge influx of people that were making Reels earlier this year. That I would say now people are looking at a more balanced approach. And if anything, when I do speak with people, they're like, oh my God, cannot all the content be Reels? I do want to look at a photo or a carousel sometimes. So with Reels, you want to post about 10 a month. So that's 2 to 3 a week. It's not a huge amount that's needed. And this is recommendations from Instagram themselves. Reels is going to get into that Reels tab, which is going to increase your discoverability. It means that you're going to then get new audiences. So think of that as your top of funnel content and think of that as your trailer content. So say we're going to get into that like transformation that someone has. You don't have to be very long and in depth for those. That is a trailer for someone. We just want them to come to your profile and go, oh my God, you talk about that and you've got all these other different resources. This is awesome. So Reels, about 2 to 3 a week for that. When it then comes into feed, carousel posts, they get more engagement because they actually get a double chance at reach. So you'll see as well in your like own feed, you'll look at a carousel and then it will come back, but it will show the second title. That is because you can actually get a double reach now. The thing with carousels is that, again, as I said, TikTok starts at first. So TikTok brought in carousels, and because it's a very raw and realistic platform, everyone started using photos in a carousel, but text on it to tell a story. And so that is a phenomenal way to tell a story on TikTok. So of course, then Instagram were like, well, we can add text now onto a photo. So you can have with those carousels either something that's designed, and you might have like a really beautiful design template in Canva. I still absolutely do those. But photo ones where it might be telling the story of you, your business, who you love to work with, why you got into it. Those are a phenomenal, easy way, and you can actually add the text in when you're creating it. Static posts will still always have their opportunity, but again, that carousel is going to get double that opportunity for reach. So yeah, when you want to have a look at it, you want to have those 3. When it comes into stories, you want to have a maximum about 3 to 5. With stories, instead, so you'll always see that you'll post one and it will get huge amount of views, and then if you post multiple, it will get less. That is not indicative of a particular person. Everyone that I meet, that happens. With your stories, you want to have them as more of like exactly that, a bit of a story. So you might have 3 to 5, but post them one after each other, and you might have a few different points that you want to meet. Have one point on each story so people tap through and they read. So with stories, yes, you can have speaking to camera, but you have to have the captions on because a lot of people watch them without sound. So when it's text on screen and someone's holding down and watching, they're actually spending longer to consume that content, which tells the algorithm, oh, this is good content. And then you'll see an increase. I would definitely say that then what you want to do is actually let the prior day's stories run out before then you post the next ones as well. But those stories is because it's the people that already follow you. You're not going to get new opportunities or discoverability. I do definitely see that a lot of my clients or a lot of people that I work with, they put the best content on stories. I'm like, that is phenomenal and I love it, but that's already the people that follow you, and we need to get that and put it into discoverability content.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And I'm going to make sure that I get those tips, write them down, and have them in the show notes, and also as a blog post so people can remember them if they're listening to this while they're driving, because I guess we're also looking for those tangible instructions. Do I need to be posting 10 reels a week? Do I need to be using a particular amount of hashtags? While we're on that, hashtags, what are your thoughts?
So
What's new?
Instagram have come out and said that hashtags are actually irrelevant on Reels. I'm still using them, as a bit of a precaution, but they've actually said for that because It's more about what's actually on the content. So your text on screen, your copy, text on screen, and your captions. It's more about what's in it with that than the hashtags. I'm still using them, but Alex, sorry, no, what's his name? Adam, sorry.
Alex,
No, Adam, head of Instagram, had said in a podcast that it isn't relevant. I still use it there for safekeeping. When it then comes to carousels and others, you want to have hashtags, but don't overcomplicate it like we used to and have like 40 and they're all different topics. It really is aligned to what the content is. So is the content, millennial women outfit or like work outfit, like have it really, really clear and succinct. But the more important thing is a very SEO heavy caption. You want the caption to really be clear of exactly what you're speaking about. If anything, on Instagram, you want a bit longer of a caption than on TikTok. I will also say a bit of a hack, write your own caption, but then also give it to ChatGPT and go, could this be SEO stronger, but make sure you say Australian English. Otherwise the Z's and the S's and like random words will get mixed up a bit. Because the more that you do that, then you'll reap the rewards.
Oh, such good tactics. That's fantastic. Even though technically we're not talking about the importance of tactics, but these things, including sort of keyword rich content in the captions and the videos themselves, that sort of stuff is smart. I think I was saying to you before, whether we post at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or what have you, in my opinion, doesn't move the needle so much as making sure you've nailed the purpose of that content and understanding how it plays in the broader sales cycle. What this content, no matter what it is, it's designed to get you to do something, and is to get off Instagram and to start viewing the content on your own platforms so you
100%.
can kind of convert them. So I do love some tactics that are relevant right now, rather than everyone's doing a reel where they're dancing or something that's a little bit more frivolous. These sorts of SEO based, data based tactics are fantastic.
100%. 100%.
Now, let me ask you this, though, and this is something I don't know the answer to. A lot of people, particularly when they start out, they want to grow their following fast. The objective being that if they've got a larger following, then presumably they've got a larger chance of attracting customers or leveraging relationships for paid sponsorships. Can you see genuine organic growth, or do you think you need to supplement what you do with paid ads in today's market?
In today's, you don't need paid ads. If you asked me 2 years ago, absolutely. Like Facebook right now, pay to play market. Wouldn't get onto it without money unless you already had a big audience. I have one client that has the most engaged audience ever. There are other businesses, no chance whatsoever because they don't have that. When it comes to Instagram, back in the day, you had to use ads to get in front of the right people. But now, basically, when you do ads, you are giving an audience, giving topics and going, pay to find these people and serve them this ad. The algorithm does that for you now. The algorithm identifies that right audience of what you say the content's about in the SEO and serves it to them. So a lot of people that I do work with, and so one of my clients actually last month, they hit 1 million impressions and only 4% of that million was from ads. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So it is not the same as it was. I'm not going to lie to you and say it's not hard to grow because if you think about it, everyone's on Instagram. Also, Instagram at that beginning point, there's a lot of people that make fake accounts and bot accounts. Instagram's also saying, who are you? Like, where are you going? But if you want to be able to grow that, the biggest thing is honestly consistency, is showing up when it gets hard and when it's not great, because the people that will have the most success is the ones that continue to show up in between those viral videos.
Agreed. So that's interesting, the difference between Instagram and Facebook. I feel like if you apply all of those SEO tactics to ensure that your content is being shown to the right people, and that's being done organically through Instagram's algorithms, and that's great. That's your follow account. But as we know, your follow account doesn't necessarily equate to sales or revenue growth. And that's where I feel like Facebook and having sort of, multi-tiered campaigns to drive signups or drive web traffic, drive those conversions, that's important. But you're saying that ads are probably still required if that's your objective, if your objective is to get leads and then sell.
Yeah, absolutely. Ads are still absolutely important. But what you can also do is, especially where I would see for your industry, that content that you're having, those carousels and that in the feed and also reels, Basically create that in a way that it becomes a bit of a lookbook. You want people to save your content. The more that they save your content, saving is an action, watching a video is an action. If they do that, you retarget them. So basically what you do is you can have a really strong organic top and middle of the funnel, and then you retarget people with the ads. It also means the viewer feel in control of that. They know what they're clicking on is an ad. So I'm all about ads, but make your organic work harder, and your ads will not only work better, but you'll pay dramatically less because you're doing that retargeting of those people.
That's a really, really good point. Just on the ads, absolutely. I'm seeing that a lot of people that have found a couple of reels that have worked really well, they're then deciding to either boost them or to use them in a kind of top of funnel campaign to build their audience through Facebook. But it's still, I know for a lot of people, they feel like it's one step forward, two steps back. Do you think that's just going to always be part of the ecosystem of social media, that we aren't privy to the inner workings of Meta, and that we just have to keep a realistic expectation in our mind?
Yeah, I have always said that social media is like playing poker with the weaker hand. You will never know what the algorithm will do. You'll never know where it goes. That is also why I always tell people, do not have your entire presence on one channel. I earlier this year lost my TikTok account and got banned because it thought that I was underage, because I used to have on my TikTok 10 years experience. And so that got picked up as I'm 10 years old. And I had to prove for 3 days with my passport, with my bank statement, that I was over the age of 13. And I tell you what, in that moment, I was like, thank God I am on other platforms, because that happens. So you can't control the algorithm, you can't control what happens, but we have these tools in front of us to utilize every day. If you use it well, you use it to an absolute regard. But when it comes to, performance, I think it's also not disregarding the amount of views that you do get. Like I do say to people, yeah, so you got 200 views. Have you spoken in front of 200 people before? Like, oh, you got.
It's so true. It's so true. And even if someone says, oh, I only got 3 comments on this, but those 3 comments were people saying, that really resonated with me, or
Yeah,
something other than fire emoji.
yeah,
Like if you're actually seeing that you're cutting through to people, even at a small scale, that's a little win. And that's a little metric that you go, okay, well, maybe that content worked well, but if I tweak something,
yeah,
it might reach a broader pool of people.
yeah.
So I think you're right. We do get into such a negative headspace. Obviously, imposter syndrome, comparing ourselves to others, yada, 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 which I think for a lot of us now, we understand that you have to have a healthier mindset when it comes to this. But it is frustrating for a lot of business owners who are spending hours a day creating content, because it's not, they're either not digital natives, or they don't particularly like creating the content, or they don't know how to articulate who they are. Um, they spend a lot of time, a large percentage of their day, trying to nail this kind of unknowable force. So I think it's great. This is why I like having these conversations relatively frequently, just to remind people that social media is a long game, and there's multiple purposes and objectives. And there's no point in trying to look at what someone else is doing and thinking, well, if I do that, it's going to work for me. Just to kind of keep it real and keep the expectations tempered.
Oh, I say to people, like, we have never had so much exposure to our competitors. You can see what your competitor is doing 24 hours of the day. Whenever I work with someone at the beginning, so I work with people on both, either for their business and for their personal brand. But at that beginning, I will ask them who does well in your industry, and I will do a bit of a competitor analysis. And then I will say to them, do not follow those people. Do not look at them. Do not follow them, because you will stress yourself out. And the more that you follow others, you will become inauthentic and you will lose your voice. And then you will get to a point where you go, hang on, I've talked about all these things and I've become who I thought I needed to be, but that's just not me. But you are going to attract the right people when you are authentic to you. And that doesn't necessarily mean to be 1 million followers. Because when we look at actually, this is a good one when it talks about following. So there's a difference between reach and depth. You can have 500,000 followers. That's not 500,000 clients. That's 500,000 people follow you for free advice and free content. But you can have a smaller following and have more depth, And that is more people are actually signing up and you are transforming their lives. You are making an impact. So the amount of marketers that I know and that I meet that they will say to me like, yeah, this person came to work with us and they had 1 million followers. And we're thinking, what do you need our help for? You've got it together. And they're only making $5,000 a month in their business. They have 1 million followers. The average Australian kind of like even influencer that has, a few 100,000 followers is about 10 grand a month, which in this economy, especially living in Sydney or, capital city, that ain't going to get you that far.
No, and that is such a good point. Again, so reach and depth. What a fantastic analogy. And I think that it's something to be really, really mindful of. Again, the follower count is a vanity metric, technically. It's also, I guess it's the potential for you to build on the depth, to go deeper. But a small following with that genuine engagement and having people move through the buyer cycle, signing up to your newsletter or your lead magnet, having a free call with you, booking in with you, that's what we're looking for rather than the kind of broad reach for the sake of reach. Now, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions from our listeners to finish up, just your sort of instant thoughts and opinions. Number one, service-based industries, so people that are offering personal shopping, personal styling, wardrobe edits, color analysis. What are your thoughts on advertising pricing in the content that you share on social media?
There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing is, from an SEO perspective, you don't want to have anything that sounds salesy or spammy because the algorithm won't want to push it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you'd be moving away from advertorial style carousels and content where it might say, "This is what I do. It's 4 hours. It's $2,000."
I mean, to a
Do you
certain
think the algorithm
extent,
would?
but you also want to get people to go to your website. You know what I mean? You can only sell a story so much on a carousel. I would actually refrain off having the price on there and push them through to your website, because also we think that we need to give all these people all of this direction. People are smart. They're going to go and research. They're going to go and check out what it is. I'd get them on the website. You might have client case studies on there. I know that not visually, but what people talked about. You're going to have who you are, your background, what accreditations do you have. Like, I would get them to the website, because the other thing is, if you get them there, they might sign up for an email newsletter, they might get a free lead gen, or they're going to go on your website, retarget them with an ad, make it follow them, make it be like, okay, well, now download this, free guide that what they can do in the meantime. You can target them with an ad that will go from there. So I would try to get them out of social and make them do an action.
Excellent. Another question. A lot of people have been saying, why isn't my follower count growing? Why am I not reaching as many people recently? I saw a report that said that reach was down across the board. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a key part of that as well is that the competition is rife. It also is completely impacted by what's going on in the world. Like, my clients' ads and their performance was so low during the Olympics, and I said that to them. They're like, but we don't have anything to do with the Olympics. I was like, no, but everyone is the competition. Everyone's talking to the same people. Even with Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you are now in the realm of everyone getting in front of that person. So from an Instagram perspective, it's completely changing. As things grow and adapt, you're going to see that impact. It's the same as how Instagram even came out and said your follower growth and your follower up and down will impact. But don't look at it as like how many followers you have a day. It's the long journey of what that looks like overall, because some people might follow, but you might get fake accounts. They might delete it. They might follow and unfollow. Like on mine, so I have my business, but I have another part, and I had a Taylor Swift video that had, I think, like 4.8 million views. And I was hemorrhaging followers after that because so many people followed me for Taylor Swift and I never posted it again. And I had to let those followers go.
Yeah, let them go. They're not going to make you money.
No.
That's the other thing. At the end of the day, the followers are there so you can potentially convert them into customers or clients.
Yeah.
So the idea that you would essentially want as many people to pack into a room as possible without any regard for whether they're going to be a potential customer or client is a little bit foolhardy. Okay, so final question. Why isn't my account making me any money? Just a broad statement.
Because your messaging hasn't made it strong enough to the person's pain point. Honestly, that is majority of it. Whenever I work with people, they will say to me, is it my offer or is it my messaging? And I will say 9 times out of 10, it is your messaging. It is not what you're selling. You just have to find the right audience for that. If you are too broad and people can't go, oh my God, you're in my head, and that was the particular thing that I needed help with, they won't buy. And I say this is someone that I obviously knew into business. I've been running my business for the last 2 months. I had never worked in sales, and I got a business kind of mentor. And he said to me, the transaction was within a few days. I moved quite fast. And he was like, what cut through? I said, you said in your statement exactly who you worked with. And that was me. And I could see that you solved all my problems. So his messaging was strong.
So interestingly, most people will have a website and they'll have a kind of a tagline on their website, and sometimes you'll have people that have chosen like an artistic sort of phrase. Others are very, very prescriptive. I do this for this person and this is the result. I'd be interested to know what the statement was, so we can see whether it was quite specific. I'm guessing it wasn't, I help business owners grow, full stop.
No, hang on, let me get it for you. It was positioning and offer creation for digital agency founders and consultants who refuse to be just another service provider. And he said, I help agency founders and consultants build a wedge that makes buyers want to work with them. And for me, I was not looking for an online coach. I wanted someone that said, I work with agency founders because that's where I want to get to. And my biggest issue was that I was having these meetings with clients and I could solve every problem, but I can't. But realistically, you don't want to solve every problem. So when I started reading about his positioning of it being the wedge into someone's business, I was like, oh, that's actually what I need. So yeah, for me, it was a huge cut through, and I'm actually, amending that with my own, because I think that when we're very multi-passionate people, we think, oh, but I can help, I could work with all of these people, all these things. You can do everything to everyone, but then you won't be anything to anyone.
It's so true, honestly. And that's why I guess I go back to niching, and the reason that I always encourage it is it's hard if you were to start from scratch. It's hard to pick a niche of the right depth straight off the bat that's interesting enough to attract people, but not too specific that it doesn't cannibalize any future opportunities. So I always encourage people to embrace their weirdness and understand who they are and their brand and their problem, particularly because this industry often stems from a personal awakening and discovery, and then they study color analysis, styling, image, and then they want to almost sort of pay that forward and help others. So because people are picking you as an individual to work with, and it's a very subjective industry, it's important that you are very clear on who you are and who you can help, so other people can make that decision really quickly as to whether you're the person for them or someone else.
Yeah.
And when you're competing on very similar factors with every other component, whether it's price, the service, the delivery, you're going into the same shops. We're all going into Westfield. It's just that one of us is talking about ghosts, another one is specializing in plus size, one of them's only taking it to sustainable brands. It doesn't matter what it is. We are all different.
Yeah.
And the challenge is being able to articulate that. And so I guess to wrap things up, the easiest way to get this concept to sink in is to have a look at businesses that you've decided to sign up for, or courses you've decided to sign up for, or products you've decided to buy, and have a look at how specific they are and how they pitch and present or position their product. And it won't have been, I just help you feel better, or I just help you make more money. It will be because they were quite prescriptive in the way that they told their story. So perhaps a little bit of market research is something everyone could do.
Absolutely.
As like an actionable takeaway.
Absolutely, but also on the flip side of the messaging outwards, one of the most important things is also called founder market fit. So have a really clear understanding of who you are, your story, what your experiences are, what your knowledge is, what your background is in, and then how someone will go, you are the right person for me. So for example, I have launched and scaled social media teams for big businesses for years. So now when I go and speak with big businesses, they will say, oh, well, you've done it. When I talk to people on personal brand, I built a personal brand. So they will go, oh, well, you've done it. So founder market fit is where someone goes, okay, well, that just makes alignment because you align to the market position as well within yourself. So if you are someone that you have struggled personally through the pain points that you help people uncover, that is what someone's going to go, well, if you did it for you, you could do it for me too.
Yes, and that is super, super, super relevant, particularly for the personal styling industry, because often the most passionate sort of stories and authentic content creation comes from sharing personal experiences, which for a lot of stylists might be that they struggle to be seen or to feel like they were expressing themselves authentically. So digging into that story and sharing it is part of the, I guess, the strategy, but not just saying, hey, I used to feel this and now I'm fine. As you said earlier, about it's hooking them in, it's sort of teasing out the end result and making them understand that there's a process that you undertook, and that's the process that you'll share with your customers and clients.
Totally. And those little things that you think in yourself is just mundane or regular, those are the little things that people are going to align into. Like those are the parts people go, oh my God, yes. So those are what make you authentic. And realistically, no one else can be you. Everyone can tell and can talk about a skill or how to do a particular topic, but no one can bring in your storytelling. And that's where personal branding is. People think, oh, you have to vlog your day. I don't have time to vlog my day every day. I'm busy. But it's your opinions and how you see the world, and that's going to come from your background. And if you do that, authenticity online is just going to shine.
So good, so good, so good, Kim. Thank you so much. Like I literally would like to continue talking for hours. But what I really love about this chat is not only have we discussed some tactics that people can implement relatively quickly. But it just goes to show, again, you don't need to be a tactical genius. You do need to do the one thing that's in your power to do, which is to know yourself, to know what your business is here for and how it's going to compete with others. That's unavoidable, but that should arguably be one of the easier tasks. So thank you so much for your insights.
No problem.
I'm sure I'll have a lot of follow-up questions from listeners, which I will just ping on to you.
For sure.
Um, all right. Thank you so much for your time, my love.
Thank you.